Hey, Lifers, if you're just tuning in with me, it's Terry with the Jeep Life Podcast. We're getting rolling. Um, we'll have a little bit longer intro. I'm waiting for our special guest to become available. But I wanted to get rolling and just hang out with you guys a little bit. I was kind of anxious about getting on there and getting started. Hey, Sammy, how are you doing? Hey, Bree. Yeah, what's up, Mike? How you doing? Yeah, so far, it's going to be me that we're going to see tonight. Well, maybe our guests, we might be able to see them if I can get the electronics to work. It might be we might be able to see both. This will be interesting. Hey, Kristen, how you doing? So good to see you guys on Saturday. It was a good time. I should have crawled under your Jeep and checked out the armor, but yeah, I'm old and fat. I'm not going to do that. I'll just take your word for it, and I'll trust Frank and whoever else helped put that together. Make sure I don't get any feedback or any weird things. All right. Oh yeah, we're experimenting with technology tonight for sure. Yeah, when we'll talk about this a little bit further on the show, but camped out with Brandon and Bill, the founders of our Jeep Club. We camped out Friday and Saturday night, and Friday night we had a real good time. And but knowing that we had to get up real early on Saturday, we stopped a little bit earlier, and then we had a real good time Saturday night. And I stopped earlier than they did, but still didn't stop early enough. And so last night when I got home, I had a couple things to do during the day, and then I was in bed by 7:30, and I didn't wake up until around 8. And it was, yeah, I got like 13 hours of sleep and much needed. Cool. And, got some sleep, and then, when I woke up this morning, my head was throbbing. I could tell that I was just dehydrated and tired. So today's been moving a little bit slow. Then I know that Bill and Don both were under kind of the same scenario, so I gave them the night off, and here we are. And we're going to try some things out and see if they work. Always trying to make the Jeep Life podcast better and improve it, as much as I possibly can. Definitely had fun. Susan, so on the way up to AOAA on Friday, you were 2 cars behind me, and I didn't know how to wave at you backwards. I was trying to, but I just couldn't. And, you kept getting 1 car further behind. But Bill, Brandon, and I was the back of the 3 of us, and I could see you behind me. I was like, Team Red, there's Team Red. So it was good to see you from a distance, even though we didn't really get to see each other, I guess. Yeah, so tonight's going to be a little bit different. We still have an agenda to go through. I couldn't get around to we had one in front of us that was slowing us down quite a bit, even up the hill. So yeah, it kind of stinks. But that road through there is just awful. That highway, I think it's 61 is the highway number there. It just it's all beat up and just, in a lifted Jeep, it just bangs you around a little bit. So yeah, we're going to do things a little bit different. If technology works, our guest is going to be visible. We've had him on before. It's our technical advisor, Scott, but he's going to join us, and we'll see how that goes. Everybody can hear me okay? Everything sounds okay? Nothing's broken yet? Oh, the other thing about being a guide, when you're the guide on a trail ride, it's hard to take pictures when you're responsible for 12, 13 other Jeeps. I literally was just trying to making sure everybody kept up and moving. I didn't get enough pictures. What's up, Eric? How you doing? And, I just hate not getting pictures. Hey, Ron, how's it going, man? Your group looked like they are having fun out there. Perfect, Sammy. Glad to hear. Thank you. No, it was. I will talk about it a little bit because our guest was actually there as well, so it'll be good to see his insight. It was one of our larger fall trail rides. Yo, Dave, we ended up having 87 or 90 Jeeps there. I felt like there was a few more than that, but I think that's the count that Brandon was able to get, which ended up being around 150 people probably or more. And it just, everybody I talked to had a great time. That's our home park, so we love going there. I had done the math. I figured out that this was my 7th weekend in a row to be there. Yeah, okay, hit me up. I'll go with you, kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. And that park's just awesome. There's so much to do. I spent the whole day and literally did Trail 12 and the bigger part of 102 and, back through 101. So we could have had even, more fun if we'd had a couple of days, but, always good time. Thanks, Ron, for guiding, and I know that Eric guided as well, and I appreciate that as well. I was really stressed about the day. I took a little more of the responsibility of organizing it and making sure everybody got where they needed to be, and I was really stressed out about it, and it turned out to be fantastic. It would have been great to have one or two more green guides, but it was good. Oh, I did see those new tires. Are those on already, Sammy? Did you get them mounted already? Yeah, 35s changed the world. And I know when if Eric up there with 40s, that changes even more. Gets definitely a different feel to it. Like Bill says, that's the Cadillac when you're riding on those 40s and that suspension. Awesome. We got to switch rims again. Yeah. October is going to be my, yeah, Frank, we're sorry you missed it as well. It would have been great to have you to pick on. But yeah, you got to keep Bree out. That picture of her climbing in the tires, that's awesome. Yeah, there's no way I could climb in one of those tires. Anyway, I might use them as a shoe or something. But October is Terry gets new tires. So if you want to fund that in any way, just find me, Cash App me, Apple Pay Cash, whatever, so I can get new shoes on Kylo. But I am going to do new wheels and tires, kind of change out the look a little bit. Still going to stay with the 35-inch tire. I've got a couple brands I'm looking at. I'm always open for suggestions, because I think buying tires, I haven't bought a new set of tires for this Jeep yet. I've bought 2 pseudo used sets of tires The first set that I got was it was about a month old, and they were ATs, and they were 31-inch ATs, 32-inch ATs, and they rode really, really well. Rode across country with them. They actually did well on quite a bit of off-road stuff, but there's no way I could do what I do now with those. While I was in California, I found these 35s, and they were literally new. The guy had them and took them off of his brand new Ford, put them in the back. Had bought 37s for his big pickup truck, and they were brand new, and so I put them on. But I haven't gone somewhere and bought new tires or had them shipped to me. I'm excited about that experience. To be able to share that experience with as many people as I can will be cool, and so we'll see. But I will take recommendations on new tires. Victor, I've had good things. I'll have to check them out. SST Pros, love those. Right now, the two that I'm leaning to are the KM3s, the BF Goodrich KM3. Definitely trying to redo the mud tire or stay in the mud tire range. And then the other is the Nitto Trail Grappler. What's up, Jason? And I just trying to look at tires that A, will last a good chunk of time, and B, will handle the trails and rocks that I like to go on more. I know, Ron, you run yours pretty hard, and that's pretty awesome. It's a good testament to what you're doing, because I know you're running trails very similar to what I'm running. And that's a real good question. Do I have to re-gear for 35s? I haven't re-geared for my 35s. I probably in the spring will re-gear. I haven't found a need. The automatic, I drive an automatic, and I haven't found a need. It definitely, I think, if you re-gear, it will help with a lot of climbing as far as highway travel, going up hills and mountains. But I haven't found a need. I didn't notice any performance difference, especially once I used a computer and changed the onboard computer of the Jeep to know that it had 34.25-inch circumference tires on. Once I did that, my gas mileage cleared up, and the gear, when it changes gears, happen in exactly the right time. So before, I felt like the engine, the RPMs were going up a little high before it would switch, and then once I changed that, the engine sounded right when it changed gears. It felt right. I definitely would recommend doing it. And there are people who have re-geared that they definitely swear by it. And as soon as, maybe next spring, I'll do that, get a little bit better gearing. I don't know that I'll take it as serious as some people. Who knows? We'll see what happens after I price them out. But do you have to re-gear for 35s? No. Should you expect maybe some performance degradation? Maybe. I personally haven't, and I drive a Sport. My gears are the lamest of the lame, if you will. But no, not necessarily. It's definitely something to kind of keep in the pocket as a Christmas present or something to yourself for that. I know that listener Mike, just re-geared this past week, and he screams and raves about it. So, sure, why not? Yeah, 321s. Yep, that's exactly right, Jason. And so it's one of those things that I think once you did, let's see, yeah, Ron, you did yours to 456s, yeah. But once you changed out that, you definitely going to get a little different ride. Sean has a 6-speed manual, stock 373s on 35s, no problems. He'll probably says he's rear gear when he's going to 37s. I would think that that's about right. Yeah, because I definitely don't think my gearing the way it is would go to 37s, and I probably would change out my front axle before I went to 37s. Just from a strength capacity, I don't have a Dana 44 up there. I have a Dana 30, so adding that circumference change to that would definitely make a big deal. Yeah, Frank, I remember when you had them re-geared. That's perfect. Yeah, so it re-gearing is always one of those challenging. I think at some point I definitely will, because I want a little more, probably a little more response. Right now, it's not a priority. I've got a couple other things that kind of are a financial priority for me. New tires is one of them. And then, definitely going up. I know you have the 410s in yours, Frank. But, it's I personally have had exactly 0 times where I've gone, man, I wish this is something else with my Jeep. So until I get to that point where I actually say, you know what, I really feel like I need more out of my Jeep, then that might be a possibility. Right now, the things that I have in mind with new gears, maybe some new shocks, with new tires, new shocks, a few more bits of armor on it. Those are the things that I think my Jeep feels like it needs at this point. So I'm going to do those first, and then at some point when I might need a little more out of it. But even when I'm going up a hill, up a mountain, I don't have a problem passing somebody, just to get on it. The automatic on the 3.6s definitely helps that a little bit. I know that when you're in a stick shift, you might need a little bit more, or drop a gear or two quicker. So you might feel it there a little bit more, but that automatic transmission does a real nice job of getting where it needs to be. That's a great question, though. Yeah, I haven't been able to get enough water in my body today. It's been crazy. Full dehydration this weekend out on the trail and then camping. Yeah, she needs a lift on that thing. Let's figure out how to do that. And Frank, you're in charge of the design for that. Oh, all right. Thanks everybody for your patience as we wait for our guest to come on board. I'm trying to be respectful of his time, and he very last minute agreed to come on and help us out and be an extra voice. And so let me see, what else do I have on here on my agenda for tonight? I think I have it all written out. I'm really excited. We've got 4 new reviews on Apple Podcasts. We're steady in our first or second on Apple Podcast charts. I definitely need some vitamin C and hot tea for sure. But rest, I think, once I get another night's sleep under my belt. I took a nap this afternoon. It was nap time for Terry. And when I took my nap, I woke up feeling 1,000 times better. So, that little 35, 40-minute power nap really improved. And I think that worked really well. All right. We're getting a "Are you ready?" text from our guest. Let's see. We may have a few seconds of technical difficulty. Yeah, Neil, your Jeep, it's great. It does the job, man. I love that thing. I think Scott calls it Lego flesh, yellow. It's cool, and all the Jeep Jamboree stickers. I definitely want to do a Jeep Jamboree with you at some point. We'll probably have to work out a technical bug or two right up on when he calls in. I hear it. Now what do I do with it? How do I answer? Maybe that button. All right. Let's see. No, are you in, Scott?
Sure am.
Let me see if I can. I'm going to try to. As I'm trying to get you in with this, but I don't see you anywhere.
See.
Do you see me?
I can see you.
I can't see you. Nope, that just turns off my video. See, told you everybody this is going to be. We got audio, we just don't have video. I don't have you anywhere on my thing. Let me see. Let's hang up and let me see if I call you back, if that changes anything. All right? Hold on.
You got it.
Yeah, his video was on, but I wasn't seeing him. He could see me. That's a good point, Sammy. I don't know. I haven't used Skype in many years, and it looks different than previously. One would think I could just push a button and it would call him. Let's see. Where's the call button from here? I should be able to call from. I've got a text message going on. Here we go. Can I do that? Maybe that will do it. Got this funky music going on. I know. Alexa can figure it out in a heartbeat. All right. Let's see. Oh, I see Scott.
How about that?
How about that? Now, let's see. Can I somehow get it into... can I get it in Ecamm Live? That's the kicker right there.
It's FaceTime. You'd have figured it out already.
Well, FaceTime just works, right? Oh, I know what it is. It's a permissions thing. I gotta allow this button right here. Oh. I may lose you. I did. I lost him. But that was kind of intentional, I think. Let's try this one more time. Thanks everybody for being personal. Um, how did that work? Are you back
Let's
with
see.
me? There's you. All right, I see you. Can I do this? Nope. How do I add? All right, now how does ever can everybody see? Can anybody see Scott at all? Let's see.
All I see on the live feed is the Skype logo, but there's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wish we'd had time today. If I'd have known everybody was we weren't going to be able to do that, I would have kind of worked all this out before time. Before, um, yeah. So
Well, at least you can see me this time, right?
I can see you. I want everybody to be able to see you. I mean, you're a good looking guy.
Oh, stop.
Oh wait. Um,
Well, now I can see me with a delay.
in Ecamm or on Facebook Live.
I don't see it on Facebook Live. I see it on mine.
Hmm. Let's see here. What?
Did you share your screen with me? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's going on. But it's still the Skype logo
It's
on
still the
Facebook.
Skype logo. But I can see you. It's supposed to work. It's supposed to work. Sammy, no, he can't Facebook. Well, I guess he could Facebook call in. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. That would throw me off even more.
Oh wait, you got a picture-in-picture popped up for a second.
For a second.
Yeah, but it was not both of us. It was you and the Skype logo small.
Oh. Oh wait. Um. All right. Well, I have sound there. Why don't I have video? Because I have multiple video sources available to me down at the bottom, and they show Skype guest. Did that do anything? Yeah, you have a drink about it. Wait. Does anybody else see?
Back to the Skype logo.
Because I actually,
Oh, but now you got.
yep, I have you. Now I have to be able to
Now I
split
see me
screen.
drinking.
Yep. But now I have to figure out how to do a split screen with this so I can see my face. Because right now we just see you.
No,
Oh, uh, no. What happens if I hit that button? All right, that's good. Default scene. Let's do. Thanks everybody for helping out with this and ignoring us. Um, um I should be able to call tech support. I should be the tech support. Oh, there. I see me up in a very small um, picture. That's it. No, when my mouse is off, can you see my whole screen right now? Yeah, I don't know what that is or how to get it there. none of these buttons actually do anything when I push them. It does nothing. You think? Yeah. See, I can see me in the upper right hand corner. I did, and I did nothing. Yeah, it definitely is Microsoft. Oh wait, why can't I? Hmm. All right. So everybody gets to see you and not me. That's not fair. And I don't remember how we got you there, unless that button does something. No. No sound from Scott. So we have audio from me, no video from me, video from you, and no. All right. Um, I honestly thought, um, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what to do with this, other than maybe we just, um, yeah, maybe, yeah, so we can just get going with it. I hate to do that. We was such a good idea and so close to happening, so close to happening. Yeah, there is none of the buttons are working. Oh wait, here we go. Maybe this is it. No, no, that's not it. See, this is what I need. I need to be able to do that and that one at the same time and be able to share those, split those screens. I am closer right now. Why can't people hear you? Maybe. Um try that and see if people can hear.
Talking louder.
And now why are you not in this window? Oh. Yeah, let's just do audio and get it going. Well, people have to look at my silly face. Um so yeah, just call me in on my phone.
Send me that number.
Um well, I'm not in your contacts.
No, because I just talked to you on Facebook. You might. Well, let me see. No, I did have you. I hate that ring, Terry.
I know, I do too. I don't know. All right. Do we have you, Scott?
Yep.
All right. So we got sound, but no video.
Eric says he always uses Zoom
Zoom.
because Skype is unreliable.
Well, I'm seeing that. Although I feel like I'm looking at you right now with Skype still.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still here, but now I have my phone on. I can put it on speaker.
So how do we do? Yeah, I don't know. People can't see you though. That's the point. I could probably rig up a camera right now. I could bring it over and put it in front of the screen, but I'm just going to quit Skype and we'll use audio from, unless, just clicking one button. But see, it gives me this blue screen. I don't know what this blue screen is. Why? Because you can see the Skype logo. Why can't I don't understand.
There is no delay with Skype audio.
But we're getting a nice echo with that. So I'm going to quit the Skype and just come back to me. And now we're here. Scott, you with me?
Yep, I'm here.
I'm going to hit the magic button and get the episode rolling.
All right. Did you hit the magic button?
I didn't, because it's not playing. Of course it's not, because
look, it's all Apple's fault.
No, it's all Terry's fault, because some dumbass didn't put the card back in the device, so it won't do anything without that card. So I'm going to push pause on everything. Everybody's going to have to stare at a blank screen of the Jeep Life podcast, and I will be right back. All right, let's see if I push the magic button now, if I get anything. Who knows? Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeep Life podcast. We're a podcast where we celebrate that Jeep life and everything that comes along with it. And, man, it's been a heck of a day. And those people that are with me with Facebook have gone through some of trials and tribulations of getting us on air. And I hope everybody has us on air now and is able to hear us, because I am joined not by the empty seats that are on either side of us, but I am joined by our technical advisor, my go-to source of information, Mr. Scott. Scott, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Man, it's good to hear your voice again. It's been almost 24 hours.
It has.
Yeah, I love
What a
it.
great weekend.
It was an awesome weekend, and what he's referring to is the Jeep enthusiasts of Eastern Pennsylvania had their 2020 fall ride. Now that we're able to get out and enjoy some beautiful weather, we had our fall trail ride, and we did that at Anthracite Outdoor Adventure Area, which is the park in the area. There are multiple parks in the area, but that is the park in the area.
That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, mine too. And we had to come up with some guides to help us out. We had basically 90 Jeeps.
Oh, is that how? But man, last I heard it was like close to 60. You got 90 out there.
Yeah, there were 87 official that we found, and I think a couple more came in right as we were going out. So right at 90, which means about 180, because everybody averages 2 people per Jeep. Some of them have only 1, some have 3, some have 4.
Right.
So
there
I know,
were some dogs.
Yeah, definitely some.
We count the dogs, right?
They probably count them more than we do the people. So I was struggling to find. I took on a lot of the organization of the ride, and I was struggling finding really good trail guides, and I got, and some of them are actually on with us with Facebook Live and singing in there with us. But man, the guides we had, and I know I asked you and your brother to come out and take over the really challenging stuff for us and guide through there. And that was awesome to have you guys involved and share your knowledge with those folks. I know Ron, one of our listeners, was there and leading, and Neil, I think, between you and me and Eric and Neil and Ron, we pretty much know every square inch of that park.
Yeah. But there's still more to learn. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, last weekend, you and I went on a trail I'd never been on before. It wasn't a long trail, but it was a great trail,
Yeah.
And you guys.
Yeah, and then you took me on Fern Ridge, which I'd never been on before either.
Oh, right.
And then I went back this week because I had to show my brother because he hadn't seen it.
Yeah. That's a great little extended section that you can get off and on.
It sure is.
In different parts, and I really like that. Yeah, so you guys jumped in there and was guides for me, and having that number of people experience. I mean, I would say 50% of the people have never been off road before.
Yeah,
this is their first time coming out, and the cool thing about AOAA is you can. It's for everybody. I think if you've got a stock vehicle, a stock Jeep, I think you're going to be fine and find plenty to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if you got a built-out rig like you and your brother and some of the others out there, then there's plenty for those people to enjoy.
Sure. And that's I think that's an underutilized part of it. There's a lot of people that we've talked about this a couple of times, you and I. There are a lot of people that think the more challenging terrain is only at Roush or is only at FRO or whatever, but there's a very deep, I don't want to say depths, but there's a lot of variance in blue. Like the blue trails, some of them are just a step above green, but then some of them are very, very challenging, and you really can't go fast on them. You can't, you really actually have to pay attention to what you're doing because there are consequences if you go the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting. You and I have talked about this before. That I think there's a blurry line between some of the greens and some of the blues.
Sure.
And I think there's a blurry line between some of the blues and some of the blacks, even.
Yeah.
And
it's tough when you only have really four different levels. I mean, there's so much variation. You can't really categorize them all perfectly.
It's true. I mean, I took people on Trail 12, and there are parts of Trail 12 that, on a lot of parks, it's a green trail, marked green, but there are parts of it that borderline on blue and would be blue in some parks.
Sure.
Or a trail rated 3 to 4 on that. And then, you and I went on Fern Ridge, and there are there's black offshoots that I know you guys went on. But even the blue part of Fern Ridge, there are black parts of it.
Sure.
If you want to try to take that harder line, it's almost a wide enough trail that there are harder lines that you can take to give it that black feeling.
Well, there are sections of red in the black, in the ears that come off Fern Ridge. There's some sections of red trail, like lines that you wouldn't normally take but are doable. Ones that I wouldn't take, but Eric was already plotting a return to that trail with Overkill, and going, well, here's where we're going to go. We're going to go up this way, and then we're going to want a safety line on it here.
Yep.
So, but he's definitely, he said we could try it, but it would probably be the rest of the day. So we're going to spend a lot of time there. There's so much just on that trail to enjoy, and so much fun stuff to do. I mean, Billy got to stretch his legs. We went on some pretty aggressive trails, and he drove his Jeep home. Can you believe that?
Normally there's caution tape wrapped around, wherever he parks, because it becomes a repair zone, or maybe he only gets 100 feet up a trail before, throwing out a steering box.
Right.
But he drove his Jeep there, no repairs, played around all day, and then drove it home, no repairs. So that's pretty awesome.
Listen, our entire trail group 9, we had no trail damage for the entire group.
That's awesome.
And honestly, with Billy at the wheel, the odds were stacked against us.
They definitely were. One of our listeners has a question. Any suggestions for someone who's only been there once? Normally runs blues and blacks at Roush. Man, I think upper and lower anthracite on the eastern side is a good place to play for a day. I'm not saying that it's not, but if you stay on the Eastern Reserve, I say the warm up is probably Barney Rubble, because if you can't have fun on Barney Rubble and find a different, more challenging line, it's a nice wide stretch, and portions of it are every bit as challenging as Rock Creek is at Roush, but you can find a line that is perfect for your Jeep. You can find lines that are a little more challenging than you'd like them to be, and you can find lines that you'll end up with body damage. Upper and lower are two of those trails, like we were saying before, where it's kind of hard to categorize them in any one color, because you can go on upper, and based on conditions, that can be a black trail, even though it's a blue. And you can get on lower, and you can have a real bad day, as you've seen a couple times in a row. You and I completed lower anthracite together, and had a great time. And then, I went the next 2 times, once with you and once with Bill, and didn't make it. It was
We have had a open TJ with probably a 4-inch lift and 33s. Make it up that without an issue, based on it being totally dry. Totally not an issue. But there are times you go there where lower anthracite has a creek going through it. And I don't think you've actually seen it at that level yet. And that's, especially spring conditions there are definitely very different. I had a group of people from the Lake Region Jeepers Association came through last October, and Eric and I guided them up lower, and we had, 11 Jeeps make it up lower without consequence. Well, one I shouldn't say that. One JK did lose a fender, and there's a very good picture of that. But that's the guy who has since upgraded to MCEs. He did them the day before you did.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, it's a wise call, putting those MCEs on there. Definitely. So speaking of fenders, actually one of our listeners, they lost a fender before this weekend, but I want to put a shout out to D'Antonio Automotive down in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Tony is going to help them out and get a new fender flare for them, so they don't have to feel lopsided, because one side's just completely trashed. There's just a little bit of fender carnage left. I mean, you can definitely tell that there used to be a fender on there, but they need definitely a new one. And I reached out to Tony for them, and he's going to help them out and take good care of them. He does a great job. I can't say enough good things about Tony. He's such a nice guy, and does great work. So he definitely, he and I've spent some time together as well, and he does good work, and the quality is there. So I don't mind throwing his name around.
No, I'm going to see him on Wednesday. Actually, I'm getting. I don't think I even told you about this, but I'm getting a remote start put in the factory.
Oh, nice.
Remote start. Yeah,
nice.
I had it on my '08 Rubicon, and I really, really have missed it in the almost, well, I guess 2 years now. I've had this Jeep.
Oh.
But and the thing that I really miss the most is when we have the dog with us, I can start it and let the heat or the AC run for the dog for a half an hour while I'm not around it with no keys in there.
Yeah. That's I want one of those. I don't have key fob that actually unlocks, and so I can't do the factory, but I definitely.
Well, actually talk to Eric about that, because he's found a solution for his, and he has the you have the gray key.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have the gray key, if you have the sport key like he does, I mean, hard to believe his Jeep started as a sport, but
I know, right?
His has the gray key, and he has found, and the company that makes it escapes me at the moment, but it's they're going to be doing an installation video on it pretty soon.
Oh, cool!
Putting a remote start in his.
Yeah, because that's every once in a while I'll go through a phase of like 2 months that I want a remote start, and as we're going into winter months, I think I'm back itching to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I think that would be good to do.
Well, he's actually squeezing me in this week which I'm super happy about, because we're going to Vermont.
Oh, that's week. Right. Yeah.
Well, next week we're going on an overlanding trip, and the pup's coming with us, and she's got very short hair, and the heat doesn't really bother her much, but the cold. She likes to snuggle up on the couch with blankets and hibernate for the entire winter. And we're taking her out of her natural environment, so we have to make sure we have heat for her.
Perfect. Well, I let me know how that goes. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Tony runs a great shop down there. I've been to a shop a couple times, and it's one of those things where it's one of those shops that you don't think a lot is going on, and then when you step inside, you're like, oh, he does everything.
Right. It's very deep, and there's been a few Jeeps there for very major overhauls.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of stuff going on for sure.
Yeah. Last time I was there, he was working on an awesome YJ Islander. And that's a killer Jeep too.
That's Lorenzo's Jeep.
Yeah.
Lorenzo was a guy that I met him through the Jeep group.
Yep.
And I recommended he go check out Tony, because I think he lives closer to the city. I'm not sure exactly where.
He does.
He has taken his JL there, and he's also taken his YJ there, and his YJ is there for a complete overhaul, because he found that thing.
He got that thing
living
for
in
nothing.
A parking garage that had been there for 8 or 9 years without having moved.
Yep. He got a steal on that one, and it's a beautiful Jeep. And when he first came to the club, we had a meet up at Hanoverville Roadhouse, which is one of our listeners and one of our Jeep Club members. He owns that, which is a fantastic place. I'm just throwing out recommendations all over the place. Hanoverville Roadhouse.
Just go where we go, and you'll be fine.
Exactly. You can almost say that true on the trails too.
Right.
But yeah, Mark does a great
Follow
job
my
there.
line through life.
But I got to meet Lorenzo there. He sat with me at the table. Man, what a great guy! And he's one of those young people that's 10 or 15 years older than me. But he acts in everything much younger than me, and his love for his grandkids and his family. He's just,
he's living that retirement life that everybody hopes to be able to achieve at some point, but he's doing it with Jeep stuff, and he's loving it. So
yeah, he got the bug when he bought that JL, and then found that YJ. It's a beautiful thing. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
The best part about it was I met him. I didn't meet him. I talked to him online. I recommended Tony, and I think we maybe talked on Facebook Messenger or something like that. And I recommended that he go talk to Tony. I happened to have stopped by D'Antonio's while he stopped by to meet Tony for the first time. So he actually got to meet both of us in
nice.
10 minutes. So, yeah.
That's
awesome. He is a good dude.
That's awesome. So let's get back to the trails. Don and Bill and myself, this wasn't a Jeep Life podcast weekend, but we did some things together. I had planned on doing some lives and maybe doing a remote interview, but we were just so enthralled with making sure everybody had a good time out on the trails. Brandon and Bill and I camped out, which the Trailhead Campground right there at AOAA is awesome as well.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly new campground, and the amenities are getting better every time. We actually had a campsite that had electricity, which I know a year and a half ago I don't think they had.
No, a year and a half ago I think they had every time we went down there and there were RVs there, they were running generators all night.
Yep, and they do have rules about when you can run generators or not, because they have quiet time rules, which I'm very glad that they do.
I feel like those weren't observed when I was there, but I'm not complaining. I did get to sleep eventually.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was right up until about 11. It was it was a lively area, and then after 11, it was actually pretty quiet. I was impressed, except for us. We were laughing too hard.
Yeah.
But out on the trail, you guys did Fern Ridge again, and you and Eric and Bill, and then you took Lexi. How was she on those trails? Did she react really well, or?
She had a great time. It's so great to have her around, because we've been doing it for so long that just every little aspect of it, watching her reaction to it, seeing the stuff that Jeeps can actually do. When you get to the top of a trail and look at it and go, there's just no way anyone's getting down that, or whatever, she really has such a great time, and seeing it through her eyes is amazing all over again. And she's so great. She rode with Billy for part of it, and then she rode with Eric for a little bit, and then after she rode with Eric, she was like, "Red Jeeps aren't really that cool." I heard her say it out loud. So that was your daughter saying that.
She's grounded. I don't know. She's grounded. No, I've taken her out on greenish, bluish, trails. But I've never. Yeah. We had the opportunity to do lower anthracite the last time we were there, and that's when Billy's Jeep, the steering went out, and so we literally went 100 feet of that trail, and then she sat around all day. So that was her experience with going to a black trail,
right?
And so I was hoping that she would have a different experience.
That's everybody's experience eventually when they go wheeling with Billy. Usually,
that's so true. But thanks for taking her, and I know you guys had a good time, and I know Neil had a terrific group, and I've seen pictures from that, and Ron, they had a good time, and so
I did not know that she was with us until we got out at the first trail, which is, I guess, 108. Is that the?
Yeah.
Is that the one that? Is it 108 or 107? Maybe it's 107. I'm looking at an old map of it. Yeah. It's probably not even on it. But that one that we've been calling the Bowl. That's we got out. That was the first trail we went to. I was like, let's just do a shakedown real quick, and I led us into that. And every trail, because we were the advanced group, and there are bypasses for a lot of these things. anytime we got into a situation where it was more advanced terrain, we got out and we walked it first.
Sure.
And we, like, gave people the opportunity to plot their line. We didn't, it was like we said, it was a more advanced trail ride. We had Billy, and we had my buddy Bill Eustace, who is the guy who welds all my stuff back together when I break it.
Oh, right.
And is a tremendous technical resource for me, which is, that's, if I'm your technical resource and this guy's above me, I think he's like probably a general and I'm maybe a captain or something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it works, but he has definitely stitched my nonsense back together a few times. He came with his TJ, which has a 488 rear and a locker in it, and only 33s. So it was really only 4 Jeeps. It would have been great if it was a larger group, but we wanted to, because we had such a varied amount of Jeeps in the group, even though there were only 4 of us, we wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with what we were doing before we got into it.
Right.
And nobody turned around. Just like when you and I went up lower the first time, it was, everybody was up to the challenge. We picked good trails and we had a blast.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, and it just turned out to be a great weekend, and it's one of those things where I'm always nervous going into those. Is everybody, and I think that's my big thing with our club is I want everybody to have a good time and a good experience.
Right.
And I think we nailed it with that one. I feel like everybody had a great time. So
yeah.
So thanks for being a part of that.
I don't think there wasn't a lot of trail damage, right?
Maybe a handful, four or 5 vehicles went down total.
Okay.
I know Ron had.
But everybody drove home under their own power, right?
I didn't see any wreckers there, and I didn't see any trailers.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
I mean, including Billy. Like I said, the odds are stacked against us. He was there, so.
I know Don did a trail repair in the parking lot for somebody, and got them home and everything. So yeah. So it was a great weekend.
That was the drain plug on a diff.
Yep, that's it.
Yep. We had the file on my Leatherman, and that helped.
Oh, that's right.
And I think Lexi assisted on that, didn't she?
She probably did. If she heard somewhere that somebody was turning a wrench, she crawled under a Jeep, and was ready to go.
I am definitely teaching her how to splice synthetic line, so that someone knows how to do that.
Yeah, because I will never learn. Let's be realistic.
You can't even figure out how to get Skype working.
Exactly, and this is what I do for a living. Which leads in
He's never going to make it to the final edit of this podcast. I know it.
It might not. I might put a marker down on that one. So let's branch in, and this is I brought this product review. It was going to be something that I was going to review today anyway with the other guys, but I think it's more appropriate that I'm reviewing it with you.
Oh, is it the Power Tank hat?
It is 100%. No,
mine arrived in the mail today.
Did it? It'll be interesting to see you in actually real hats. You have 2 real hats now.
Yep. I'm wearing one of them now, and I have the other one out in the Jeep right now. So.
Perfect. But the Baofeng UV5R radio.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed this, and I actually want to kind of set this up for you and I to actually do an episode sometime in the future where we go through trail communications overall.
Right.
I know Neil is big on trail communications because he does so much Jeep Jamboree stuff. But you introduced me to this radio, and man, I am sold. It's a light years ahead of a CB, and it's a dual band radio.
Yes.
And
it's VHF and UHF, and the difficulty with that radio is that it's straight out of China, and it will operate on bands that it should not legally. I mean, I'm a licensed ham operator. I also have a license for GMRS, which is something that I urge everybody to look into and get, because it's only $70. and it's 10 years.
10 years, yep.
$7 a year, and it covers your immediate family. But that's when they say immediate family, it's actually more than immediate family. It's like, just draw a line. If there's a line between you and somebody, it's husband, wife, children, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I wouldn't even say it's like anybody that you'd invite to a barbecue at your house that was considered a family reunion can be covered under this. And that license is very, very broad. But there's a lot of rules with it, but not really as many as ham radio. Ham radio is also a 10-year license, and there's a test.
I was going to say there's a test involved with that.
Right. GMRS, you have to know a lot about radio frequencies and a lot about legality and a lot about etiquette with different things and communicating with radio stations, and if you're allowed to talk to space stations on certain frequencies. There's a lot of stuff with ham radio that you need to know. And I took it because I wanted to know all that stuff, and it's great background information, and anybody who's interested in it, because of COVID, they're actually for the first time, they're doing virtual testing. Normally you had to go to a testing facility, and it was actually kind of hard because there weren't really a lot in every area. But I think that's probably $50 for 10 years, but there is a test. This is $70. There's only 22 channels that you qualify to use. Some of them overlap with FRS radios, those little, tiny walkie-talkies in a blister pack that you can get from anywhere. But GMRS radios can have a range of several miles, even in the woods.
Yeah.
CBs, you're lucky to get, if you're at AOA and somebody goes over a ridge, you can't talk to them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much line of sight almost.
Right. And this is a little more than line of sight, and you can operate, radios up to, it's 40 or 50 watts, I forget which, but some of the Midland radios are very high wattage, and you can talk to people very far away, which is great because, your buddy goes, well, I'm going to go back to the parking area and go grab something out of my truck, and I'll be back. Just let me know where you are. If you're at a park even as big as AOAA and you guys have antennas that are set up correctly, you could be at Upper Anthracite, and you could talk to your buddy who's back at the trailhead.
Yeah.
And that's not something that you'd be able to do with CB. I've been all over in different places in the park, and I've talked to Kyle when he's leading a group.
Right.
Especially with, like you were saying, the Baofeng UV5R, you can monitor one frequency and transmit on another. So that's kind of nice. It's almost too powerful. I mean, it doesn't have high wattage, but it can transmit on, if you tune the frequency in, you can transmit on like ambulance and police bands that you shouldn't be able to. You can transmit on weather bands. So there's a lot of people that are very angry about those, and I think at some point they're probably going to get banned, at least for importation. I think if you already own one, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But technically that is not, based on its FCC class, that is technically not a radio that should be used on GMRS, because if you're using it on GMRS, it can't be able to transmit on ham like on amateur radio bands. It's a very complicated thing that I'm going to write an article on at some point.
Right.
But for now, it's legal to own one. It's legal to use one, to use on FRS and GMRS bands, as long as you have a license when you're on GMRS and maintain the wattage restrictions.
Right.
Technically, if you're on an FRS band, you're not allowed to have a detachable antenna, and that's another gray area that The thing that's the most important, and then I will stop talking about this, I promise, is if you're going to do it, make an effort to do it legally, because when the fines start coming down, they are going to be brutal.
Yeah.
And they know that there are a lot of people that are looking at this as, forget it. Don't get a CB. CBs are free and whatever, but these radios are a whole lot better, and you're supposed to have a license, but what are they going to do? Come find me in the woods? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The FCC is going to come find you in the woods.
Yeah.
And when they start cracking down on that stuff, they are going to look at our hobby as an untapped resource of revenue generation.
Right.
Like, I mean, they could set up at AOAA and just bust people all day long talking on these frequencies that they don't have licenses for.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be on that side of that. And you definitely don't want to be doing it commercially as part of a job, because if you do, you're looking at fines of $10,000 and up. They want to cripple businesses that use these things.
Right. And, I think, I know that the Jeep Jamboree is moving to GMRS
Yes.
next year fully.
And I hope they encourage people to get licenses, because they're
Absolutely.
so cheap.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're gonna it takes you longer to install the radio than it does to get a license. That's how easy it is.
Yeah, and programming these radios isn't necessarily easy as well.
Well, no. Here's the thing: your radio, those Baofeng and the other ones that are like that, those have to be programmed.
Yeah.
If you get a Midland GMRS radio, it's ready to go out of the box.
Oh, okay.
So that's not something you have to fool with programming it. You plug it in, you hang an antenna off your Jeep, and it doesn't even have to be as long as your CB antenna was, but you will be able to talk to people farther than your CB without any effort, without any tuning, without any of that
perfect.
stuff.
Perfect. So maybe we'll put a link to the Motorola in there as well.
Yeah.
In the show notes. But yeah, this radio, once you introduced it to me, just being able to hear and talk to somebody without all the distortion that comes with CB while you're out on the trail was quite impressive. The battery life, you
get a day out of it for sure.
Yeah, at least, if not more.
Yeah. Eric and I have talked on those between our houses when we're going to AOAA. We've talked all morning on the way out to AOAA, talked all day, and then we get about 3/4 of the way home and one of them dies.
Yeah, and that's a lot of conversation going on.
Sure.
So I definitely from a price standpoint, it's a really good radio to kind of get in, and just be aware that in addition to the price point, you're going to put money into that license, and then some time to program it the way it needs to be programmed to work with other people.
Well, those radios, the radio that you have, and the reason I told you to get that radio to try it out was you can transmit on those frequencies. It's totally legal for you to monitor those frequencies. Transmission is a great thing. Like you need to get a license if you want to use the GMRS frequencies.
Yep.
But the point of it is, those radios are the same hardware that Rugged Radio sells. It's just black instead of blue.
Yeah.
Rugged Radio sells them for $70. What was yours? Sub 30, right?
Yeah, below 30. Yep.
Yeah.
25.
Below
26.
30, and the only difference is that they program them with frequencies that are legal to use for FRS and GMRS and a couple other events.
Yeah.
So you're not really, you're getting a radio that's like, you can program in manually. You can set it to a frequency and use it all day long on that frequency.
Yeah.
But if you want to be able to quick switch between frequencies, you either need a cable and some software, or manually programming them is a chore that I do not advise anyone try. Because if you try to do it for like more than one frequency, you'll be going, how much is that cable? It's less than $20. Yeah, I'm going to order the cable.
Right.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, and from a build standpoint, I mean, it's a real light radio. It's not very heavy. I've dropped it multiple times out on the trail and haven't noticed any kind of scratch or damage or anything. I did order the mic speaker attachment.
Yeah, the accessories for them are cheap too.
Yeah, and they're lightweight. They almost feel cheap, the accessories, but
they are made of pure Chinesium.
they so definitely are.
So is your front bumper. So
yeah, well, it's held up pretty well.
Better than most.
But yeah, if you're going to do it right. Get the license. But I think this is a good radio to get if you know how to program it, or can learn how to program it, or know somebody that you can pay them off with a beer or two to program it for you.
Yeah. Honestly, I like, whether or not you're going to get your ham radio license, there are audiobooks that you can basically learn everything you need to to get an amateur radio license. You can listen to them in your car on your way to work or whatever when you're just driving around. It is the technician grade license for ham radio teaches you so much about radio frequencies that even if you don't intend to get your ham radio license, doing that learning, even if you're just paying attention to it halfway when you're driving or you're in the McDonald's drive-thru or whatever, you will learn so much about radios and the way they work that it's almost advantageous for you to do that, even if your intention is only to get a GMRS license, just so that you know like what side of the law you're on, you know?
Right. And that's a good thing to do.
Sure.
So you have been my technical guru, and right about the time that I was going to switch from a steel cable to synthetic, you were doing a lot of work with synthetic and writing. So I thought it was a good time, and since we have been talking about winches lately, I thought it was a good time to kind of jump in there. In the last 2 weeks, put in a new Quadratec synthetic line on the front of my Jeep.
Which is a great value, honestly, for the money.
And the first time we wound it up and how it moved and just feeling it, and I was like, all right, I'm sold. It's for living on steel cable as long as I have. It's nice to be on synthetic, and so I wanted to talk a little bit, let you talk a little bit about some winch line maintenance. And if we can talk, I know that you've done some splicing, and we'll start with care and when you first put it on, all the way through its kind of life, and if you want to talk a little bit about splicing, that'd be awesome too.
Sure. Yeah. The first thing that you have to do, even if it's a brand new winch out of the box or a winch that you've had for a while that is absolutely usable with synthetic rope, like Don and Billy were talking about before, it's important to notice whether your winch is suitable for a synthetic rope, because it can generate so much heat that it can damage the cable. Most quality cables do have an insulative layer on the first few wraps to keep that damage from happening, but it's important to notice, if it really is just a cable that was only, or a winch drum that was only really rated for steel cable, you probably don't want to do that, because the last thing you want is to create a situation where the cable could be compromised due to heat. But the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you pre-tension it, because with any type of a stranded cable or rope, you're looking at something that is braided with just microfibers of Dyneema, in the case of synthetic, that needs to be stretched before it's used, mainly because it influences the way it lays on the drum, and it also makes sure that it's like reached its capacity. The filaments that are a little too short will actually stretch, and some of them will actually break, but it will allow it to lay more evenly and be a stronger wrap, even if it has a little bit of that fuzziness that goes away. But after you pre-tension it, it's important to look at the rope manufacturer's guidelines for how much weight you should put on it when you pre-tension. There's several good videos. There's a great Quadratec 101 video that's out there for how to pre-tension it, where Rob and Eric go through pre-tensioning a brand new cable, rope, I should say. But they show you how to do that, and then after that setup, it's not the end of the line for that. You really need to, my guideline, and this is not necessarily the same guideline as every manufacturer, but quarterly, every 90 days, you should pull your rope or cable out and take a look at it. I wrote an article on it. We can put it in the show notes. But you really need to get all that dirt out of there. You want to use low pressure water to flush all of the dust and dirt and contaminants, and especially with that coal dust that we get at Roush and AOAA. That stuff is disgusting, and it really will chew apart those fibers if it's impregnated enough. Just from vibration and tensioning and all those things, it can actually eat those things away. So every 90 days, it's a great idea to like clean it up. But it's also a good idea if you have a steel cable like you had on your winch up until very recently. You want to run that thing all the way out and run it all the way in. Check for any signs of damage. Anytime you use your winch, you should check it afterwards to make sure that everything's great.
Yeah.
But the steel cable does, it can benefit from a little bit of oil. There are some people that say you should use wheel bearing grease on it. I think that's a little excessive. Like a light oil could probably be okay. You should check with your manufacturer on that. But just running the winch line all the way out and then spooling it back in with the motor allows the grease within the gearbox of the winch to redistribute and lubricate the parts that it maybe didn't have lubricant on. I know that you guys talked about water intrusion and dust intrusion and all that stuff.
Yep.
Some winches don't have the benefit of a very high IP rating. And being able to redistribute that grease inside really goes a long way towards keeping it working the way it should. A lot of the times that we see people on the trail that have problems with their winch, they really need it right then, but they go to use it and it doesn't work. It just seems like it's seized up or whatever, or it's just not working. They haven't checked it in 6 months or 8 months or a year. And that's really not what you should do, because if you take care of it, it'll take care of you. And when it takes care of you, it really, really does.
Yeah, exactly. Dry metal on metal is not a good thing when you're talking about pulling.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
But so we'll put the article that I wrote about this in the show notes for the 90-day maintenance. When I did my last 90-day maintenance, I discovered a section of mine that was frayed beyond recovery.
Yeah.
It was borderline, but it was in the last 10 or 15 feet of the rope, and I figured, most pulls I do are very short. They're usually about a 30-yard pull, if that.
Yeah.
So it made sense to just cut the end of the line off and then splice it. And what I used for that was a Factor 55 fast fid, which is if you have a synthetic rope, it's probably a good idea for you to own one of these tools and know how to use it. Even if you're the only one in your group that knows how, it's something that can, if you have a snapped line or you have a frayed line, you pull it out and you go to use it and it looks suspect, or it looks like it's worn, 2/3 of the way through, don't use it. Don't risk that. Because like I was telling you before, every time you do a recovery, you're like gambling on equipment and personal injury.
Right.
And you really want to have the best cards that you can possibly have. So if, like a $40 tool, I think that's about what the fast fit costs.
$45 on Amazon, or I don't see how much it's on Quadratech. I'm sure it's in that same.
I think it's about the same.
Same line. Yeah,
and the that tool really can change the way your day is going.
Yeah. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, $45. I think that's enforced MSRP. You got to be really careful with Amazon and any company because there are a lot of knockoffs around on that. So I'd recommend buying it from Quadratech over Amazon. But there's some videos, and I wrote an article about how to use it. It's a very simple procedure to resplice the end of your line and just change the way that hoop works. It's not something that you want to risk. If you pull your line out and it doesn't look good, it's 5 minutes to fix it.
Right.
If you, in the last 5 feet of your rope, if it rubbed against some rocks and it looks bad, when everybody stops for lunch, you can eat real fast and fix it before anybody even notices. It's very, very simple to use.
Yeah, you kind of gave me a run through it, a real quick run through when I was over at your place.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it was right after you wrote the article, or as you're in the process of writing the article.
Yeah. I did it a few different ways. I did it the way that you would do it as a fast repair.
Yeah.
And then the way that you would do it as a permanent repair, where you actually taper the end of the line, which requires a little bit more care. Maybe not something that you would do in the woods, but I think it only affects the overall strength of the splice by about 10%.
Okay.
So, it's For overall longevity, yes, you should taper the end of the line, and I show both ways to do it.
Okay.
But it's it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be done. If you're just like looking at your line and you pull it and it's on the tree and you see that it's as it gets taut, it starts to like look really bad in one section.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing, cut the line, splice the end again, and give it another shot. Like it's just not worth having, even with a synthetic. There is a lot of kinetic energy built into it. I know that there has been a myth, like you guys talked about in your earlier winch articles, your earlier episodes where you talked about winching. There was a myth that it just drops, and it does not. It's not as dangerous as a steel cable breaking, but it's close. And it's again, it's like, how do you measure danger?
Right.
Like, it's best to have none, right?
Right.
So
as
that's
close
the kind
to
of thing
zero as possible.
Yeah, the closest you can get to zero danger is the best way to go about things. It's like it'd be like just walking up to a street that you've never crossed before, not looking both ways and just going. Like, there's no reason to do that when you could just take a little bit more care and make sure everyone in the area is safer.
Yep, agreed. Now, and the question comes to me, and I need to, I think I need to. What about covering your winch when you have synthetic line on it? Is it more important to cover it than not cover it? My guess is yes, because of UV and dust protection, but I wanted to hear what you said.
So UV, I think, is more of a factor than dust as far as synthetic rope is concerned. UV damage can actually occur pretty easily and cause damage to the rope without it even being used. I have a recessed winch bumper where direct sunlight isn't really an issue. If you have a top-mounted winch and you're using a synthetic rope, a winch cover might not be a bad idea. But even so, like hanging your synthetic cable against your fair lead and then going over to like going over to the end where you're grabbing onto a D-link on the other side of your bumper, or even wrapping it around one D-link and under another. There's a lot of really weird ways that I've seen people like displaying their winch rope for no reason. The less of that you have out in the open, the better. Abrasion damage can happen if you're trying to climb up over a rock or a tree or whatever. Abrasion damage can very easily happen the more winch rope you have exposed. UV damage is a serious issue, because that happens even when you're parked. That doesn't happen when you're in the woods.
Right.
As much, but every single day you have that thing exposed to the elements, it's really taking damage. And the road salt that we have in the winters, all that stuff can grind away at your cable and really compromise the end of it. It's much better to have it covered up. I know that some higher end winches actually have a rope cover that you can snap in place.
Oh yeah.
Then there's also the neoprene covers. Those are also an option. Even the end, if you have a Factor 55 flat link or flat link expert or even an ultra hook, there's a thing that you can get called a rope guard, which is awesome. That keeps it from getting any type of abrasion damage, but also shields the front of the end that goes around the thimble. That part that sticks out, that it shields it from UV damage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I put one of those on in the second article that I wrote about winch rope maintenance.
Yeah, I think that would be. Oh yeah, I saw. You did have a rope guard on one of your hooks.
I did, and so that rope guard is relatively inexpensive. I had it on my flat link.
Right.
I now have a flat link expert, and I got a rope guard for it, but because they're silver and my, for lack of a better term, my Jeep is very blacked out.
Yeah.
So I don't really want anything silver on it. So I'm going to send that. They actually give you a second sticker to install if you decide you want to have it coated. I'm sending it to Shore Polish in Toms River, New Jersey, and they're gonna powder coat it matte black for me, and then I'm gonna install it.
All right, that's perfect. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm definitely it has to be a certain color. I'm all red and black. I can't have
Yeah.
anything silver on there.
Well,
Um,
at least some of it's not red.
at least some of it, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I definitely want to have you back out and maybe do a whole episode on a closed system as well, and the
Yeah.
importance and why that is important to have that closed system. As I know
Yeah,
that
and
you've got
we
me
could
in.
absolutely if we did a video, I could show you in real time how easy it is to splice the end of a line with a fast fed.
Yep.
And I could even like I was saying earlier, I'd love to teach Alexi how to do it. So it could be the kind of thing where I show it as somebody who's done it a bunch, and then she does it as somebody who is a total beginner.
Yep.
Honestly, the amount of time that it takes me to do it and the time it's going to take somebody who's never done it before is maybe a minute longer. It's such a simple procedure. It's something that once you see it done, you understand how it works, and you'll understand the benefit of having the Factor 55 Fast Fit in your kit.
Right.
You should have, if you're running a synthetic rope, it's just something you should have.
Yeah. I definitely put one on order soon, for mine. But no, that's good information, and I think winching is one of those things that you and I've talked about it. That and I know
we've done it.
Well, yeah, you and
talked about it. We've talked about it, then we've also had to use it.
Matter of fact, one trip we six full line pulls. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, something like that.
But
there was a snatch block. We were pulling puddles sideways. It was a mess.
It was definitely a mess. But it's something I think that's actually a part of the activity that people think, they let their ego get in the way and will go, I don't think I should pull a line here.
No.
I think sometimes it's good to have a safety line or something, to maybe help you over an obstacle so you don't break something in the process.
It's a tool. It's
exactly.
It's absolutely a tool that you need to do what you're doing. And if it's something that can save you, like I was telling Billy a while back, like I would much rather spend 10 minutes rigging a recovery setup, even if I'm having to use a snatch block or that rope retention pulley that we used when we were on lower anthracite, that like donut thing that Factor 55 makes.
Right.
Even if I'm like having to do a complicated recovery rigging, I would rather do that than replace parts at home.
Yeah.
That I have to buy. I've already bought all the recovery gear.
Yep.
I'd much rather use that recovery gear to prevent damage to any of my equipment, my U-joints, my tail lights like you've seen.
Yeah.
Body panels are a real pain to replace. So any of that stuff, if it's like, if I'm in a sketchy situation where it looks like, there's a 50% chance that if I do what I'm doing and I'm going to hit this object over here, I'm going to pull cable every time.
Yeah. And it's just like my bumper is a tool to protect my Jeep. My winch is a tool to protect my Jeep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And me as well. It's a tool to protect me as well.
Right. But it's something that needs to be treated with respect and used safely. And like, I've learned a lot about winches in the years that I've been wheeling, but I've also done a lot of vehicle recovery professionally prior to that. And the one thing that you really, really need to be aware of is it is safer for you to be in your vehicle using that long remote to do self-recovery and have everybody out of the blast zone, and have somebody spotting, but have them spotting from a safe location.
Yeah.
You really you don't want to be standing by your bumper trying to pull yourself out of a mud hole in the front of the Jeep exactly where that cable's going to go if it breaks.
Right.
That's not where you should be.
No. And so I encourage people to make sure they've taken good care of their winch and their winch cable and winch line, but use it when you need it, and don't let your ego say, "Oh, I'm weak if I use my winch." Use it. Help yourself out. Save your Jeep, save you, save a little bit of time and energy too.
Yeah. Well, next time, if anybody's placing an order with either Factor 55 or Quadratech or whomever that has this in stock, there is a basic guide to winching manual. And I know it says basic in the name, and everybody says, nah, well, I understand how winches work, and this is only going to be a few pages. I have it sitting at my desk here because I've actually gone through it. It's 39 pages long. And it's far more than a basic because it shows straight line pulls, it shows angled pulls, it shows how to use a snatch block to redirect your line as well as to double your capacity. It's a basic safety manual that I think everyone should read if they're interested at all in self-recovery and doing it safely.
Yeah.
$4 right now. Like, it's not, this is like something that, I don't know what your copay is on your insurance policy, but I know it's more than $4.
Right. Yeah,
if you have to go to the emergency room, or if anyone else does. I mean, I've spent $4. I've spent more than $4 in Band-Aids after a wheeling trip. I mean, this is something that is just it's so far beyond a no-brainer. It's something that everyone should read. They also have like a how to use a kinetic rope for recovery and disabled vehicle towing, which is something that I think Billy should probably look at, just so that when people are towing puddles out of the woods, I hope he never has to tow puddles out of the woods again.
That's my plan. Is
right.
For him to never do that.
But the basic guide to winching and that other guide as well, they're very good reads. They're inexpensive. There's something that even if you have it and you read through it once and you pass it off to a buddy, that's money well spent as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Well, that's great. And thanks for discussing that with me. And I know you're the expert in that, and we're all learning as we go. And I love that you have.
Listen, expert or not, I'm still learning. There's always going to be something like where you're fighting the laws of physics to try to do something, and you have to just keep your eyes up and be safe if you can.
Well, and the cool thing about that is technology is changing too. I mean, the same Factor 55 has brought in, technology that wasn't available 5 years ago.
Sure.
So that changes a lot. Where can people find us? I that's normally where we go next, but I've got 4 amazing reviews on Apple Podcasts that I'm going to read and just
sure.
okay. South Dakota maybe. Bama
maybe.
Country Boy. Just started listening. I'm at 10 episodes in and love it. Keep up the good work. Yeah, right. So I love it. Thanks for that. And I grew up just north of Alabama.
I live in Huntsville.
In Tennessee. Yeah, Huntsville's a great town. I'm not afraid of Huntsville. Some parts of Alabama I might be afraid of, but not Huntsville.
Just a bit. Mobile, however you pronounce that. Whatever.
Mobile.
Mobile home.
I am Peter Torres, Best Jeep Podcast. Stop looking for a new podcast and listen to the Jeep Life Podcast. Not only they have awesome product reviews, share great insight into Jeeps, create great content, and are super engaging, but how can you not want to listen to that big bearded sexy man on the mic?
Wow.
I'm going to assume that he's talking about me.
It's not me.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, we can't even see you.
Should your wife be concerned after that interview?
I don't know. I don't think so. The team is absolutely amazing, and I have messaged them multiple times. They have helped me with deeper questions on my personal Jeep. Thanks for a great podcast. I look forward to listening to each week. Man, thanks. It's just good to hear some of this. I don't want to just pat myself on the back, but it kind of is a reward for all the hard work and says, hey, you know what? You're doing something cool. So I appreciate that. I wish Don and Bill were here to take some of the credit too, but tonight it's all us. It's all us all the time.
I'm gonna accept full credit for all of this. I have personally helped Peter Torres with things.
Yeah, I think we all have, and that's the cool thing is he's willing to actually ask questions.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are afraid to ask questions, or they're kind of nervous about it, or hey, you're going to be ridiculed. Nope, ask the questions, because if you make the mistake, that's when either people get hurt or you get ridiculed.
Right.
So ask those questions.
I don't know which one is worse. I mean, people get hurt is worse, but
obviously, but it depends on who it is. But no, this is
Is that going to make the cut or what?
No, I might leave that in. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to talk to the lawyers. Tamara Lynn, 1968, listened while on her Jeep road trip. What a perfect thing to do. Out enjoying the Jeep life on her Jeep road trip and listening to the podcast. My husband and I listened to your entire podcast from episode 101 to 127. Wow. While we traveled from northern New York to Arkansas to Missouri to Indiana and back to New York. Whoa, what a trip. We drove
that's a lot of fuel stops.
And that is a lot of fuel stops. That's a lot of corn that you're passing too.
Yeah.
We drove to Jeep Badge of Honor trails in our quest to hit most trails in our 2015 Rubicon with 35s, 2.5-inch lift. Man, that's awesome. Thanks for a great podcast. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge with the Jeep community. We frequent Roush Creek. It's a 6-hour drive for them, and now look forward to hitting AOAA. I love that. Yeah, give AOAA a shot.
It's not far. It's like 22 minutes from Roush. So if you wanted to do a weekend and do the trails and then explore some new terrain, you could do both in one weekend. You could even go to Roush, and if you don't feel like camping in their gravel parking lot, because that's awful and I've done it before, you could go to Roush on a Saturday and then head to AOAA, camp at the Trailhead Campground, and then wake up in the morning and run the trails there. I think that's probably a great move. That's what all those friends we had from Maine did. They camped on Saturday night, and then Sunday we ran AOAA. And if we're being honest, about 5 of the 10 that were there, or 5 of the 13 or whatever, said they had no interest in going to Roush next time.
Perfect.
Not to disparage Roush, but they've
No.
been there 4 times, and if you've been there 4 times, then it is a destination. AOAA has so much terrain, like we were saying before. It's like you can go there and discover something new almost every time you go.
Yeah.
And I've been going for years, and you've been going for years, but there's so much to see.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So look forward to hitting AOAA, and maybe you'll line up with a Jeep Life outing, and maybe we'll meet on the trail. That'd be awesome. You'll be sorry. It looks like ULBSRRY is their name. First time Jeep buyer. I had a Ford F-150
you'll be sorry.
I know, for sure. They had a Ford F-150 that wouldn't do the trails that I wanted to do, so I purchased a 2021 Rubicon. We'll take delivery in late October, so they haven't even gotten it yet. Oh, they're already in. I love it. Found your podcast, and I've learned a lot just listening to you guys. I love that you guys aren't pigeonholed into one way of building Jeeps. Thank you for being a refreshing and educational podcast. By the way, I'll be a West Coast Jeeper. I love it. Yeah, I think that's what's really important. And I listen to other podcasts, but literally, if you're an overlander, you listen to this podcast. If you're a hard rock guy, you listen to this podcast. If you're a mudder, you listen to this podcast. I think we want to be something for everybody. And then if you're literally, you just love your Jeep and you never wheel it, that's cool too.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think all of us kind of have a little bit of an identity crisis in and of it. It's like, I would love to consider my Jeep a rock crawler, which is what it is most of the time, but I go on overlanding trips, and when it's super heavily overloaded, for those trips to West Virginia or the one that we're going to for Vermont, like, it is used expressly for camping, but then I can rip all that stuff out and go rock crawling on black trails.
Yeah.
There are a ton of different ways to put a Jeep together.
Yeah.
And I hesitate to say the word build because it's not always a build. But you can put it together in such a way that I can put a ton of overlanding gear in my Jeep in an afternoon, and I can rip it all back out when I come, and I can drive it to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why a multi-purpose Jeep is a bad thing.
We've talked about that, that we feel like some of our Jeeps, I mean, myself included, we kind of think of it as a dual sport. Let's do some overlanding, but let's do some rock crawling. But, So I don't think that you should be limited, and I love that they recognize that, and I can't wait to see what they do with their Jeep.
Look, it says unlimited right on the side. I'm just
unlimited.
Putting that out there. Right.
Absolutely. Except on the 2-door, and then you're limited.
Yeah, on a 2-door. Well, I don't know what those guys are thinking.
I do. It's a short wheelbase. It's pretty awesome. But
I know. I'm just busting on them, but yeah, it is. It's a different setup. It's a more traditional Jeep setup, in fact.
Yeah.
But I really just couldn't deal with not having a huge trunk. I don't know why. Probably because I came from having wagons,
Right. I need storage.
Yep.
But all those reviews came from Apple Podcasts, and that is the biggest podcast repository. But I think we're also on what are
Spotify?
We're on Spotify, YouTube Play.
I do Podcast Go on Android, which is actually a Android Auto approved app.
Okay,
that's how I listen to the podcast.
Awesome.
I know you don't care about that, but
no, I do.
It's a thing.
Because I don't care where you get it, just as long as you listen to us. Just get it, right? And you can also just go to our website, jeeplifepodcast.com. You can listen to the feed right there, because all of the other feeds are going to pull it from there anyway. If you're on Facebook right now, you found us on facebook.com/jeeplifepodcast. That's where a lot of our announcements come out, but we also do our live from there. And I'll do live broadcasts a lot of times. I'll just hit the trail and I'll just hit play and let's talk. YouTube, just go search Jeep Life Podcast. We do a lot of new videos. I know Scott's got a video up there with us when we installed the MCE fender flares on my Jeep. And then our Instagram is at Jeep Life Pod. Tag us wherever you are. Just hit us up. I do have some stickers, so if you want some stickers, get in touch with us some way and let us know you want it, and then promise that you'll tag us in pictures with your sticker on your Jeep, and I'll just mail it out. I love doing that. So I sent out 2 this week, and
that's great.
I'd love to send out more. Yeah. I handed out about 15 this weekend. People came up and said, "Hey man, can I get a Jeep Life Podcast sticker?" Yeah, sure, here. So that was a good time as well. But Scott, I want to thank you for coming on.
No problem, man.
And filling in last minute. Was truly last minute. And
it really was. I was outside working on my Jeep trying to wire up a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like running a soldering iron and tinning all the tips of the things that I'm crimping, and you're like, "Hey, want to be on the podcast?" Sure. Let me just put all this junk away. And if we're being honest, Terry, my driveway is still full of stuff that I pulled out of my Jeep that I have to now go pull and put inside.
And do it in the dark.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I appreciate you coming on with us, and for Scott, Bill, and Don, here's a big G wave to you, everybody.
Yeah. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks for everybody tuning in and watching with us. It was awesome. Scott, man, love you. Thanks a bunch for hanging out with us. Man. All right. Yep. I'll talk to you soon. Night. All right.
I'm going to go eat dinner. It's 9:26.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye.